That's what I call all wigs hats. I'm getting ready to go live. So if you're interested, you can go on a live, which is Psalms, PSALM, space 121, space 7 dash 8. That's on YouTube. I'm going on now. Hi, I'm She Knows. And I just want to come to you today. Excuse me. I just want to come to you today and bring you something that I thought you would want to hear about. So, when you hear that they keep it all in the bloodline, they keep it all in the bloodline. And we think that these celebrities, dancers, singers, actors, and such are all just regular dancers, singer, actors, and such. No, they're all related. So today, we'll be taking a look at more of their hidden secrets, aka lies, of the elites in which some of us love to salivate over. Child, I'd rather salivate over Jesus all day, every day. So, Barry Gordy, the in motion, Motown, you'll see why he was in motion all over the world. Barry Gordy, the Motown, previous name of Motown was called Tamila Records. Oh, child, my screen just jumped on off, but we gonna keep it moving right along. And I believe I need to say this again. So when you hear that they keep it all in the bloodline, they keep it all in the bloodline. We think that the celebrities, as I said, the dancers, the singers, the football players, their actors, and such, we think that they're just that actors, singers, football players, dancers. No, they're all related. So today, we'll be taking a look at more of their hidden secrets, aka lies. Y'all know I don't like to say that word. Of the elites, in which some of them you love to salivate over. That's just the way it is. Sorry. Not sorry. So, Barry Gordy, the Motown, previously known as I might be saying it wrong, to Maryland Records, now known as Motown. Um, this so-called pop music owner businessman, his blood, honey, it runs all up and through the music industry spectrum. Trust me when I tell you. Don't go by me because I got the proof and I'll show you in a minute. So you might be asking, how is this so? Well, I'll tell you. Well, with your eyebrows raised, when you get firsthand of how Barry Gordy is very close friends with ex president Jimmy Carter. And I know, they're never ex. They're still going to be called and remembered as president. But who is you to judge? I said ex. moving right along. Barry Gordy, the pioneer music owner of Motown, is very close with ex-president Jimmy Carter. And might I add, they're second cousins. Just like you and Boo Boo and Jalil and Tanisha, your second cousins. So when you look at Barry Gordy, I know I did, with or without your glasses, you'll instantly notice that he's more than just an African American man. Got some milk in him. Ain't that what y'all say? A little snowflake. What? They call us different kinds of names. And I said the nice ones. Just a little jokey joke. If you can't take a joke by now, get on off the channel. But you know she knows keeps it real. Y'all like the wig? $1. Anyway, I had a man just tell me he didn't like the big wig with all the hair. He called it a hat. That's what I used to call the wigs too, hats. But they said he liked this one. Now this one is me. I know he trying to say that my head is little like a little peanut peppermint patty. I know. And I'm okay with that. But anyway, moving right along. See, um, when you look at Barry Gordy, you'll look at him and you'll begin to see that he looks like he mixed with something. And yes, it is true. See, Esther Johnston, the head of the Barry Gordy family tree, was R word. Y'all know what the R word is. She was R word by a Caucasian man by the name of James Gordy. Yeah, he was white. He was Caucasian. And by the way, just so you'll know, Lily Gordon was the granddaughter of the R word Caucasian man, which impregnated Esther, which was an African American woman, black in color, Esther Johnson. And when he impregnated her, she begot the berry seeds. Anyway, let's keep learning. And a child was born from that Caucasian man impregnating this African American woman. Yeah, a child was born. Barry Gordy the first. That's a few more. Stay with me. And then Barry Gordy the first, he married and he had a child, which then became Barry Gordy the second. Okay. And he got married and he had 8 more children, right? And he had, out of those 8, it was 4 girls and 4 boys. So Barry Gordy the third was their second youngest boy. Now follow me now. And I'm gonna throw these names out because they all connected. Beyonce, Donna Ross, Marvin Gaye, and even some of the Jacksons. Charlie connected in some shape, form. We gonna say fashion too. In this tree, they connected. And child, speaking of Marvin Gaye, and I say they keep it all in the bloodline. Oh yes, they do, honey. And don't you let nobody tell you that they don't. Don't you let them tell you anything different. See, Marvin Gaye was married to Barry Gordy's daughter. Her name was Anna. Him, Marvin Gaye, he creeped right on into adultery. That's what they was doing. Still doing it. And he impregnated Anna, his wife's niece. I believe she was a niece. Child, so many of them. And child, a daughter came from that. You'll see in a little bit. But child, listen. Don't listen to me. Listen to the family tree. Shout out to useful charts that will depict this tree a whole lot better than me. Give me a second to get together and hold your mule. Mm-hmm. Hold it. Hold your mule. Let's get it on fixed. Get it on right. Get it on together. Yes, honey. So here you go. Let's get it, get it, get it, get it, get it, get it, get it. And a one, and a two, and a three, and a four, and a five, and a six, and a seven, and an eight, and a nine, and a 10, and 11, and a 12, and a 13, and a 14, and a 15, child, and a 16. And that was a commercial. Okay, two of them. So let's get it. Here we go.
Today I'm going to show you the family tree of the GORDY dynasty, one of the most influential families in US history. If you don't immediately recognize the name GORDY, you will certainly recognize the names of many people connected to their tree, such as Michael Jackson, Beyonce, the guys from LMFAO, and President Jimmy Carter. But the central figure on this family tree is a man named Berry Gordy III. He founded Motown Records in 1959, and from there built a music empire that continues to have a major impact on pop music and culture around the world today. Like most Black American families, the Gordy family's story has its roots in the story of American slavery. This tree begins with Esther Johnson, an enslaved teenager of African descent in Georgia. When she was around 14 years old, a white man named James T. Gordy impregnated her. Even without knowing any further details, we can certainly say that what Gordy did to Esther Johnson was wrong. Esther's child, who was named Barry, grew up, became a free man, and married a woman named Lucy Hallam. Together, they had a child who became Berry Gordy II. In 1922, Barry II and his wife Bertha decided to move to Detroit, Michigan, in part because the South was still an extremely dangerous place for Black people at the time. The KKK was at its peak, and lynchings were all too common. Barry and Bertha were gifted entrepreneurs. In Detroit, they established several businesses, including a construction firm, a grocery store, a print shop, and a life insurance company. Together, they had 4 sons and 4 daughters, most of whom initially worked in the various family businesses. But their second youngest son, Berry Gordy III, had other interests. He became a professional boxer for several years and then served during the Korean War, working as a chaplain's assistant and playing the organ during the troops' church services. When he returned home, he married Thelma Coleman and opened a record store. That didn't pan out though, so instead he started writing and producing songs for several up-and-coming R&B artists, including a group called The Miracles, whose lead singer was Smokey Robinson. Then, in 1959, he made the most important decision of his life. He founded Motown Records, although originally it was named as Tamla Records. He did this by borrowing money from his sister Esther, who managed the family's savings fund. It was a great decision because during the 1960s, Motown ended up becoming one of the most successful record companies that America had ever seen. Here are just some of the artists who signed with Motown. I've got sunshine all around me. In the name of love. So now that you get a sense of the Gordy family's connections to the music industry, let's return to the family tree and look at it in more detail. All of Barry's siblings eventually ended up working for Motown in one way or another, either as executives or songwriters or both. His eldest brother's daughter, Iris, ended up serving as a top executive as well. Two of Barry's sisters ended up marrying Motown artists. Anna married Marvin Gaye, who was known as the Prince of Soul, and Gwen married Harvey Fuqua, founder of the Moonglows. While married to Anna Gordy, Marvin Gaye conceived a child with Denise Gordy. Denise was the daughter of Anna's brother, George. At the time, Anna faked a pregnancy, and the child, known as Marvin Gaye III, grew up believing that Anna was his biological mother. Marvin Gaye was shot and killed in 1984 by his father, Marvin Gaye I, following a physical altercation between the two men. Marvin Gaye III did not learn who his real mother was until many years after his father's death. Denise Gordy married actor Richard Lawson, and together they had a daughter named Bianca, who, like her father, went into acting. Eventually, Richard and Denise divorced, and in 2015, Richard married Tina Knowles, mother of Beyonce and Solange Knowles. So these two well-known women in the music industry are now the stepsisters of Gordy descendant Bianca Lawson. Okay, so now let's look at the children of Berry Gordy. With his first wife, Thelma, he had 3 children. His eldest daughter, Hazel, married Jermaine Jackson, a member of the Jackson 5 and thus a brother of the late Michael Jackson. With his second wife, Ray Singleton, Berry had a son named Carey. In the late 1970s, Carey was part of a band known as Apollo with his friend Benny Medina. Benny Medina grew up in a poor inner-city setting, but ended up moving to Bel Air to live in a mansion with his rich friend Carey. Sound familiar? That's because Benny later helped create the TV show The Fresh Prince of Bel Air, which was loosely based on his own life. The rest of Berry Gordy's children came from various other relationships he had over the years. One of these children was Kennedy Gordy, better known by his stage name Rockwell. He had a hit in the 1980s. Berry also had a relationship with Diana Ross of the Supremes, and together they had a daughter named Rhonda Ross. However, Diana Ross was married to Robert Silverstein at the time, and therefore Rhonda grew up as Rhonda Silverstein, only discovering who her biological father was at age 13. She married jazz musician Rodney Kendrick and is herself both a musician and actress. Finally, I want to point out Berry's youngest child, Stefan Gordy, who is better known by his stage name Redfoo. Together with his nephew Skylar, son of Berry Gordy IV, he formed the duo LMFAO.
Every business is on a journey, and along the ride, you'll find many challenges.
Okay, now what about that link to President Jimmy Carter that I mentioned earlier? Well, the maiden name of Jimmy Carter's mother was Gordy. She, like Berry Gordy II, was a grandchild of James T. Gordy. Lily's father was James Jackson Gordy, son of James T. and his wife Harriet. So that makes James Jackson and Berry I half brothers, Lily and Berry II first cousins, and President Carter and Motown founder Berry Gordy III second cousins. That's a pretty close relationship. Which brings me to one final point that I'd like to make. In most Black American family trees, there's a white ancestor in there somewhere for non-consensual reasons. This is why when I did my video on the fact that all people with at least some European blood are the descendants of royalty, I said that this applies to people of color as well. The flip side of this is that in many white American family trees, at least the ones that go back to colonial times, you're probably going to find branches that lead to Black American families, meaning that a lot of white Americans have some distant Black cousins, and a lot of Black Americans have some distant white cousins. So one way or another, we are all connected. But because of the power imbalances that existed in the past, some of us have reached the present with far more privilege than others. While those of us who are white can't change the actions of our ancestors in the past, we can take positive action in the present to help build a better future for everybody. Before I go, I want to give a big shout out to Oris Jenkins for suggesting this topic and for helping me put the chart together. Like many of the individuals we've talked about today, Oris is a musician, and you can check out his music by following the link in the description. Thanks for watching.
And so there you have it. And if you're interested, please look up just who Lily Gordon was. She was the mother of President Jimmy Carter. Until next time, I'm She Knows. Have a good day. I love you.